Now, President Donald Trump would go on to speak even more on this matter when it comes to the immigrants, openly saying that he just doesn't want them here. And again, this puts a smile on my face. This is the messaging that we want, and this is the Trump that we expected.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
Absolutely based and 100% true. And I was starting to think that I was the only one who could see it, or that us MAGA voters were the only one who could see it. I was starting to think that somehow President Donald Trump either forgot or just wasn't seeing it clearly. But apparently he is. Apparently he knows this. But now the real question is, because I'll tell you this, I'm sick of just being fed political slop like this that gets me excited. It's great to hear, but if nothing is done, then what does it matter? So I decided to spend the better half of this morning researching what actually is being done about this. And it turns out there is something officially being done. This was a policy memorandum from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services from just yesterday, December 2nd, 2025. U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The subject, hold and review of all pending asylum applications and all USCIS benefit applications filed by aliens from high-risk countries. The purpose, effective immediately. This memorandum directs U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services personnel to place a hold on all forms I-589 application for asylum and for withholding or removal, regardless of the alien's country or nationality, pending a comprehensive review. And it directs Immigration Services personnel to conduct a comprehensive re-review of approved benefit requests for aliens from countries listed in the PP 10949 who entered the United States on or after January 20th, 2021. That is, of course, the date that Joe Biden was sworn in, I believe. In short, this is a memorandum that is halting immigration from third world countries, specifically 19 third world countries. And yes, that number is important because in all honesty, when I heard it was 19 third world countries, I thought to myself, that's it? There certainly are more than 19 third world countries, aren't there? So I wound up doing some research, and it turns out, yeah, first of all, no brainer, there are way more than 19 third world countries. Second of all, on a world map, here are the 19 third world countries that President Donald Trump has now officially halted immigration from. And this is where, in my opinion, we're sort of being gaslit once again by President Donald Trump and his administration. Not entirely, but I'm going to go over some of these countries. I did a lot of research on these countries, taking a look specifically at the immigration stats that I could find on the internet from last year, 2024. How many immigrants were coming into America from some of these countries? And then I'm going to tell you my biggest problem with this, mainly the countries that are missing from this list that should absolutely be on it. And so once again, looking at this map, I want to point out some of these names that I think are just so inconsequential that they're a complete waste of time, like Turkmenistan. We only took reportedly 50 total immigrants last year from Turkmenistan, but President Donald Trump was quick to ban them as one of the 19 third world countries sending immigrants here. 50. I mean, that barely registers. I also noticed one of the larger ones there in Africa, Libya. We only took reportedly 100 total immigrants from Libya last year. Again, inconsequential. Equatorial Guinea. You can see that's in Africa there, closer to Central Africa. 100 total immigrants migrated here to America last year in 2024, based off the stats that I could find on the internet. Another one in Central Africa, Togo. 300 total immigrants. Sierra Leone there, basically in West Africa, you can see 500 total immigrants. Again, really nothing, in my opinion. You can also see Sudan, that's in Northern Africa. Just under 600 total immigrants came in from Sudan last year in 2024. And so a lot of these countries that are on this list, I think are on here on purpose because they really are inconsequential, but it's a bigger showing. It's a bigger statement to say, I've just banned 19 third world countries from sending immigrants to America. But But looking at the raw data on a lot of these countries, it's like, well, it literally doesn't matter. These are not the countries we were anticipating when we were told about this. To his credit, there are some countries on here that are consequential and do matter. Let's take a look at those ones. The Republic of Congo, for instance, Central Africa. I'm actually glad that that is on this list. 12,000 immigrants were coming from Congo into America last year alone in 2024, according to immigration statistics I could find online. And that is 12,000 too many, in my opinion. That is a very violent region. They've been exposed to civil war for 30 years. And I would not be happy knowing that we are taking a lot of immigrants or refugees, for that matter, from that region into this country. Straight up. I also want to point out east of the Congo there, you can see Somalia. Ilhan Omar's shithole home country. We did take 9,000 immigrants last year from Somalia. Most of them probably did wind up in Minnesota. And that is 9,000 too many as well. We should not be receiving anybody from Somalia or anybody from the Congo. Just south of Florida there, you can see Cuba and Haiti. We should also not be receiving immigrants from those countries. Cuba, we took 45,000, so that's pretty consequential. And Haiti, we took 80,000 from. And that's a big deal. And also the biggest country on that list is actually Venezuela, which again, I'm very thrilled to hear we're not taking any immigrants from. It's been completely halted. We took roughly 250,000 immigrants from Venezuela in 2024 alone, according to the stats that I saw online. That is way too many. And so there are about 5 countries on here that I would say are pretty consequential, pretty important to ban immigration from, or at least halt it from. And it's not all bad news as a result. It's not all just for show. It's not all just gaslighting. But you look at, again, like some of these countries, Turkmenistan, inconsequential. It just doesn't matter. Some of these names are just outrageous. A lot of Americans don't even know that these countries exist. And somewhere in the middle, you have countries like what I wrote down here, Yemen, 1,400, Laos, 1,200, Burundi, 1,800, etc. And it's just like, that's just middle of the road stuff. It's like, okay, good. I guess I'm happy that we're not taking immigrants from Yemen. That's probably for the best. But it's not something that I've been passionately advocating against, where it's like, we gotta stop taking 1,000 immigrants from Yemen every year. It's disgraceful. No, I don't care that much. The countries that I think everybody was thinking about when it came to immigration are the big time countries. Like, let's start with Mexico, for instance. I actually wrote down the stats here for Mexico. 140,000 reported immigrants came from Mexico in 2024. Now, of course, you're going to think to yourself, that seems very low. That's legal immigrants, according to the stats that I was looking at. 140,000 legal Mexican immigrants came to this country in 2024. Of course, it's important to also note that under Joe Biden, that number was millions, because Joe Biden blatantly disregarded our normal immigration policy and decided that every Mexican who came through the border was legal during his presidency. So we were receiving millions of them at a time. On top of that, I also want to make it clear that the 2024 immigration statistics still aren't out yet. So these are broad estimates as opposed to fine-tuned numbers. But when I'm talking about 140,000 Mexican immigrants, I'm talking about work transferred, qualified immigrants. And that's pretty much about the most we should be allowing in to our country from Mexico at any given year anyway. Especially under the Trump administration, I would assume that the vast majority of people coming into this country at this point are legal. He's done a great job at preventing illegal immigration. That much is for certain. And especially with Mexico, as he's been building up the border wall again, etc., and the border crossings are at record lows and continue to be. But the next 2 countries I wrote down are especially the ones people were thinking about, and surprise, surprise, they're not on this list of third world countries we're halting immigration from. And that would be, of course, China and India. And these are the 2 that I have the biggest problem with. But apparently Trump loves Chinese immigrants and Indian immigrants in this country. He's been very clear in prior interviews, very unpopular ones with Laura Ingraham, that America quite simply just will not thrive without vastly superior, much smarter Indian workers coming here to take jobs from us Americans. And he's been very clear that for some reason, the colleges here across America simply will not survive without Chinese students coming here to pay money for tuition. And for whatever reason, he would be devastated to find out that half of all of these colleges, mind you, these are liberal woke institutions that brainwash our children, apparently they'd go out of business, and that would be terrible for America. So the Chinese students are still going to be welcome. The Indian workers are still going to be welcome. And I wrote down the numbers of immigrants coming from these countries. 75,000 legal immigrants were accepted into America in 2024 from China. Then you have to add on the big number. 290,000 student visas from China. You add those two together for a whopping 365,000. And those are all legal, mind you. I didn't even bother looking at the illegal stats for last year. Joe Biden was in office. It should go without saying plenty of illegals from all over the world were flooding our nation. India is even worse. India, in 2024, according to the data I saw, we accepted 110,000 immigrants from India. And when it comes to the student visas, we accepted 330,000 student visa Indians for a grand total of 440,000 immigrants from India in 2024. And when you combine India and China, you're at like 800,000 legal. Then you throw in Mexico and Central America, and you're already at 1 million annually at this point that are all legal, that the government says, yeah, this is okay. They may be replacing you Americans, but this is legal, so it's okay. And so all of this is to say that it's all well and dandy for President Donald Trump to put out these based tweets where he calls Tim Walz a retard and lets us know that he doesn't want ungrateful immigrants in this country anymore. It's all well and good that he wakes up out of his slumber in a cabinet meeting and goes off on a based rant about how Ilhan Omar is a stinky and how he can't stand her and she's the worst thing that ever happened to Congress, and how he hates the Somalian immigrants being here because they are not doing anything as a net positive to America and they don't even like our country. That's all well and good. It's even all well and good for him to start halting immigration from these third world countries. But don't put out a list like this when you know damn well the countries that everyday Americans think about when it comes to immigration and our immigration issues. And you know full well that Americans don't support immigration from those countries, especially not the young voters in this nation. And that's why I'll leave you off with this. Until I see immigration halted from countries like China and India, I will just not be all that impressed. Those are my honest thoughts on all of that, though. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed that clip, be sure to check out my YouTube channel where I have the full video where this clip was taken from published. And if you're America First like I am and you're an American advocate, be sure to subscribe and like the post. Thanks so much for watching.